Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. And it's time to talk about the Willow season finale of episode 8, Children of the Wyrm. I'm here with cousin Cheeto. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I think I'm getting almost to 100%, full mobility, so to speak. I was down with a flu not too long ago, but I am getting a lot better. But I'm not sure how much better I was feeling after watching this final episode of Willow, because boy, that was a fucking head fuck. Um, I have to admit, right from the get go, I did not enjoy this episode one tiny little iota. Everything about this episode pissed me off. I think it once again poorly edited, which is just something I have to say regarding the show just generally. Stupid jokes, stupid everything. This episode really pissed me off. And just to cut to the very end, when we get to the bookshelf and they put the book volume 1 in there, and you see 2 more volumes, 2 and 3. Well, sometimes that's a bad omen, because if this season doesn't turn out to be too popular, volume 2 and 3 might never happen. And I've noticed that with a lot of shows and a lot of films, they like to end on a cliffhanger, thinking that something, it will continue, and they shoot themselves in the foot by doing that. This show itself has shot itself in the foot by putting elements for future seasons in this season, like Willow's flash forwards when he dreams and stuff like that. So, yeah, regardless of all of that, didn't like this episode. I'm going to talk about it in detail in a bit. What do you think, cousin Cheeto?
I really liked this episode. I thought this episode was really good. I thought it was a good climactic finale for everything they've been building up for in the whole season. I don't know about the poorly edited. I didn't see much poor editing in there, but I mean, you'll have to give me some examples of that when we get there. But yeah, I really really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. It was climactic. I do agree that the beginning of this episode, like the first half, was a bit well, to quote the Brits, daft. Like, I really felt that it was kind of like, okay, what are we watching? What are we getting here? But once things kicked into high gear after that stupid wedding scene, I was kind of like, okay, I'm down. Like, this is very epic and good, and things are progressing, and I liked a lot of the action that they were doing, and I liked a lot of like the Laura Dannon stuff, in there, and her like like going and going like Super Saiyan, pretty much Super Saiyan mage, and also Graydon. I'll have some comments on him. I thought he was really good in this episode for what he was in there for. I don't know, even Borman. I was actually kind of impressed. I'm like, I kind of like Borman in this episode.
This
I
was
have
the episode I didn't like him.
I have not liked him very much this season at all. But this episode, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm down. Jade was really the only one I was a little disappointed in, just because they didn't really put much emphasis on her, but I felt like she had her episode a couple episodes ago, and now she's just kind of feels like the past couple she's just kind of tagging along, which is fine. Okay, she's there for Kit. Kit actually wasn't too bad in this episode either. So I really enjoyed this episode. So this is going to be a very, very, very interesting review we have here.
Okay. Well, we at the beginning of this particular episode, we do see the rest of the gang, wondering should they jump off the edge of the earth or not, and they finally do. Willow decides to walk back. I mean, only a fool would think that Willow was going to not be in the rest of this episode. And when he does finally enter, like, he's already entering into people's dreams and hallucinations. So how is he in that as well? That I found that a bit weird. But regardless, I'm jumping way ahead. I'm jumping way ahead of myself. Let me just pull up my notes here. We see Alora and Kit facing up against Eric, who's got a new haircut, and he's been brainwashed, or he's under a spell, or both. We see the henchman there, the very same henchman we don't see get killed whatsoever during this episode. That's the sort of bad editing I'm talking about. Like Borman, when he tells Kit and Jade to go away, and he gives them the armor and says, "You're worthy, I'm not." And then he closes the door behind him and goes, "Ooh, let's get some butter." Like, the guy's just always horny as fuck, man. He wants to, he wants to bang the very
Well, isn't
people.
there's a part in there where he's talking to both Graydon and Jade, and he's like,
Yeah,
"You want to make out?" Like I'm
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I'm
What?
like
Yeah,
that's why I'm like
exactly.
it's so stupid, but I'm like it's
It's
so
a,
funny.
it's so just stupid for me. But the Crone calling Laura a bitch was a bit far for what the
I
series is. Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you on that one. That when
That
she said that she's like, what did she say? She said, "I'm eternal, bitch." I'm like,
yeah. Oh
okay.
yeah.
And I'm not saying this was like the perfect episode. I'm not saying this is like the best episode. I'm just saying like, like I agree. There
And
are definitely some
she had
parts
to
where I was like,
become all
ooh.
haggard and stuff like, oh, I'm evil now. I'm not going to be the pretty face anymore. I'm going to act all haggard and all of that. So, um, and and also like I said, like Borman, like these guys were running away from the mouth of Sauron and the little woman with the wings and the guy with the thing over like the troll monster with the thing
Mhm.
over his head. Like they were running away from them at certain points, and now Borman's fighting them handedly, and we don't even see how he kills them if he does kill them. So yeah, that's all just terrible. As far as I was concerned, Eric he knows who Dove is. That Dove is Alora because he comes out with that initially before Alora even tells him. And we find out that Lily is the crone. She says she's the harbinger of the worm, and so that basically makes her the big bad. Yeah, Bowman made an ass rape joke as the played hero and gave away the armor. But okay, boys, who brought the butter? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like what the hell? Yeah, I mean, like what the hell, man? I do like Bowman, but I think his humor in this was and also am I the only one who's getting Star Trek 5 vibes from this episode? I was getting some serious Star Trek 5 vibes. I felt, with Cybok trying to, you know, brainwash people into his cause. I was getting that vibe from what was happening with Alora and Kit whilst they were in
Not
that sort of
really. I mean,
hallucination.
I don't see that, but I mean, I can see where you're coming from. But
You
that's the
know,
first time I've even thought about that. So I mean,
yeah, I was expecting Kit to go, I need my pain. You know what I mean? But anyway, I was getting some of that sort of vibe from it. Um, what else do we have here? Jade, Borman, and Graydon, they're trying to get into the building, and then the sandstorm turns them into stone. And so, like, when we do see them later on in the wedding and stuff like that, they're still in stone form, even though we don't see them as stone, but they're frozen, basically. And as Alora and Kit get tempted to drink the Kool-Aid, Mad Martigan speaks to Kit and tells her to save Alora. Like, what's the whole deal with Mad Martigan in this whole season? Like, it was very poorly explained.
I really wish they wouldn't have brought the whole Mad Mardigan thing in there, like talking in her head or whatever, because I just felt like it was a false payoff. Like like if that's kind of where you went with it, like there was no explanation for that. There was no technically reason for that. I kind of wish they would have just not done it at all. You know what I mean?
It was like Obi-Wan talking to Luke Skywalker. You're the chosen one. Use the
Yeah.
Force and all of that sort of shit. So, but yeah, but even though Laura is no longer brainwashed, she's like the Captain Kirk. I need my pain and all of that sort of shit. And when she goes to try to save Laura, Kit is turned to stone by the crone, and Laura ends up being blonde again, and she's about to get married to Eric, and she sees all her friends motionless, like they're stone, and as she's about to kiss, Laura comes to her senses. Willow arrives, you know what I mean, with his 12 gauge shot wand, and and
And he goes,
does
"You
the
shall not pass."
yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are a million and one comparisons in this episode to Lord of the Rings.
Oh god, yeah, exactly. But like I said, he arrives in the hallucination. How did he do that? You
I don't
know
think
what I
he arrived
mean?
in the hallucination. I just think he was.
No, because the moment he says "You shall not pass" or whatever he did, Alora wakes up and you see her on the floor,
Yeah,
and
because he broke. I think he broke whatever hallucination it was. But I don't know. I mean, it's magic.
And then we get a big fight now. We get like the henchmen, the mouth of Sauron, and all of those other people, fighting Borman and Jade and Kit, and that doesn't really lead to anywhere. Alora looks for Graydon, and Graydon finds the wand, and he tries to use it against the crone, who is now showing her true form. He fails with his purple magic, and then the crone turns him into dust. You know what
Which
I mean?
this is one of the first points I want to bring up. That scene right there was so good. Like I loved it. I thought that scene was great. Where he's just it was. I thought it was very good, and just the lines that the crone was delivering, and just the way, and Graydon, just that look on his face, and I just it was, and then it was this was one of the best scenes of the whole episode for me. Like this was really one of the high points of the episode for me, where it's like you kind of get to see that desperation and that drive with like Graydon, Alora, and the crone. Like in Crone, obviously a CGI monster. I get that, but like the, these the what they've been building towards for the entire season was Graydon just like, look, I'm putting it all out there for Alora, and he really did. And when you get to the end of the episode, I've actually got some stuff I want to talk about with that whole part too, but I'll wait till we get there. But still, this was one of the best parts of the episode for me, I thought. um
Well,
I,
we finally get to see the worm, because as Alora looks at where, through that gap, that magical gap where Graydon was killed, and she sees outside, she could see the worm, and it's this humongous. Can you only see like the top end of it, but
mhm.
right into the horizon, the humongous creature. So you see the worm. Um, then later on, obviously, whilst they're all fighting, Borman decides to give his giving his armor to Kit. Sorry, believing she's worthy, and then shuts the door behind him to take on the three henchmen that they were all running away from, but they weren't able to fight them earlier. Decided to fight them on his own. Fair enough, you know. Um, and Eric is still brainwashed, and he fights Jade and Kit. Willow gives Alora a pep talk through her mind, because now Alora, the wand is snapped in half and she hasn't got the wand, but the power was always within her all along. One of those bollocks. You always had the power. The wand was just a conduit or some shit like that. Nevertheless,
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok, a bunch of bullshit.
yeah. You're not the Lord of Hammers. You're the Lord of Lightning. You know what I mean? The God of Lightning, or not the God of Hammers. All that bollocks. You always had the power within you, Laura. And so
I have
she's obviously like going full Harry Potter now. With and you're gone.
I have to admit though, I really like the effects that they're using, like the lightning with the red and the purple and the green. I really like it. It's very like Star Warsy colors, but like I like it. I'm not gonna lie.
I had no problem with that. That wasn't my issue. But it was just the cheesiness, like with like with Willow. Like Willow's already blowing away a few of these bad guys with his 12 gauge shot wand, and then all of a sudden he decides to sit hunkered behind the wall and just be worried. Just felt
I
keep blasting at these motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Listen.
But
One of
it's
the
just
weakest thing about this
poorly
entire
edited. That's what I'm saying.
one of the
You
weakest things
know.
about this entire series has been the character of Willow, in my opinion. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so then Yvonne says the wand is now within the evil liquid that's come to play in season 2. That's a possibility. Yeah.
I
And
think we're kind
Margaret
of done with
Chrome.
the wand at this point, honestly. I don't know if that'll come into play. I feel like it won't come into play. I feel like that's just the
Well,
end of the wand.
and getting the glaive. Yeah, I remember that. And he throws it. That's a cool film, man. Had Robbie Coltrane in there and Liam Neeson. Anyway, so where am I? Okay, so with Alora getting the pep talk, she's finally able to defeat the crone, and then Kit, who's still brainwashed, goes over to the crone, and then her powers goes into him, and it's now time to activate the super armor on Kit, and she's now worthy and all of that, and she ends up having to fight her brother. this is where I was getting. And the funny thing is, because there's been a couple of fan film visualizations of this, but from the Star Wars legendary books now, because they used to be
Legends books, yeah.
yeah, they
That's
used to.
exactly what I thought, because I'm like, it's Lucas
Jason and
Arts.
no, it's Jason and Jacinta Solo fighting
Yeah.
each other, the twins, and Jason was the one who turned to the dark side, which is what Eric is as the male, and Jacinta being the light side, which is what Kit is. And I thought that's the sort of vibe I was getting, but Kit obviously shows him mercy, and then for some reason Willow breaks the end of his staff off, and it looks like a fucking green piece of kryptonite, and like gives it to
It
fucking
looks like
Kit.
Green Shard from Horizon Forbidden West.
Okay, and gives it to Kit, and Kit says to him, "I know you're still in there, you know. Just
So
remember what we used to do as kids."
yeah,
You
and so
know,
and I do have an issue with, as I said, not a perfect episode by any stretch, but I really liked it. But this part here really, I feel like, so I I I really feel like they should have killed Eric. Like, I really feel like they should have had to have killed Eric.
well, you already killed Graydon, so maybe they thought,
Well, technically not. So
yeah,
that's
yeah, I know that as well, which was a weak source.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, so you didn't kill Eric, you didn't kill Graydon technically. Like, so that's why I'm kind of like, I kind of wish they would have killed, after watching the episode as a whole. I'm like, I really wish they would have killed Eric. Like, I feel like that would have been, like, as I said, yeah, they killed Graydon as far as at that point. But it's like Eric is like, I don't know. I just felt like he was a plot device, and like he wasn't.
Would it have made the whole journey of them through 2 months worth of episodes feel lackluster if they went all the way there to save him just for him to die?
Well, sometimes that's it though.
I agree. I agree.
Sometimes you make it to the end of the rainbow and all there is a leprechaun jacking off. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I,
Yeah, by the way, this Daniel Vaughn said kid sword on the left arm was a callback to the sword my mother can use in the offhand that cupped. Yep. I thought that as well.
I did not
So
think that, but good catch.
by the way, like when the crone gave her powers to Kit, to Eric, she said that you're the harbinger, of the worm. So that might still come into play. So we'll see how that all plays out. Let me get to my.
Well, and while you're going over your notes really quick, but just and going back to the whole Graydon thing, it's like I have no problem with the way they left Graydon. I honestly think it's good, but I feel like either Graydon or Eric needed to die. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm kind of like,
Properly die.
huh?
Properly die.
Properly die, not like,
you could have killed them both, but the men's right activists would have been losing their shit over that.
yeah, no, I think only one of them actually needed to die. Like they could have thought Graydon was dead, and then obviously they
Yeah,
know Eric is dead because they had to kill him. But I'm okay with Graydon coming back as like a pseudo villain in the next season. Well, probably the villain in the next season.
I don't think he will be.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like Eric's dead, but instead, yeah, they use the power of love to get the dark side out of him. It's like no, they should have killed him, and then Graydon should have came back next season and also been corrupted by the crone. Like you're making the stakes too low at this point. Like in my opinion.
In the Willow books, which were no longer canon either because of this series, Alora does turn evil when she becomes older. So I think it might be.
You don't know if that's actually not canon anymore. What do you mean by older? As in like
When she grows up and she's no longer a baby, she does become corrupted. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's not necessarily. I do feel that they are going to be taking leaves out of those books. The same way they've taken leaves out of the Legends books. In the new Star Wars, so to speak, because they realize some of their stuff is shit. So they've had to go back to the well. Regarding that, but nevertheless, I think that's what they're going to be doing with Willow as well, like redirecting things in more in the manner which is for them. But anyways, yeah, Kit is saved from his position, and the day is saved, but the fight is not over because the Wyrm is not defeated, and these guys
You
now.
mean Eric's saved from his possession?
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. Eric
Okay.
is saved from his possession, but the day is not, and the day is saved, but the battle is still yet to be, and the battle has been won, but the war is not over because the Wyrm, and obviously Willow mentioned that the Wyrm, will have to still be defeated. But for now, they're going home, because fuck it, they're tired, and they've got a long journey home. You saw how long it took them to get to get to the edge of the earth or edge of the world. I mean, I don't know how they're going to get back
I was
very
about to say,
quickly.
I don't even know how they're. I think we're gonna start next season being like them, like figuring out how to get out of the immemorial city. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of, I don't know if I
Look, this
wanted
is
them
what.
to. Go ahead.
Remember? Do you remember watching Monkey back in the day?
No.
And his magic cloud, he goes, and he has a magic cloud.
Oh,
It was a Chinese.
you
It
mean
was a
Goku's
Chinese.
flying Nimbus? Okay, yeah, I
No,
get.
no, no. You could say that, but this was live action. I think this
Oh,
might have been either a Chinese or a Japanese production.
well,
Um,
Japanese Goku's also Japanese, but yeah.
yes, but this is live action. Yeah, so and anyway, he'll call the magic cloud and all of that. Now, if they can somehow fit those two universes into this universe, that'll be really cool. Because they're from the Far East. Maybe this universe has its own Far East contingent with all its magic and stuff like that. And they can call a magic cloud and get them back to where they need to go.
Or they could just
Anyways,
you have Gandalf call the Eagles. I mean,
oh yeah, that's a possibility as well. I mean, or they can call those super fishes, and they can just ride them like horses all the way back.
that'd be.
So
I feel like I feel like that would, but the problem is Graydon's not there, and Graydon's the one they kind of attached to. So I could see if it was like Graydon was with them and they did that, but yeah. And by the way, Daniel, as I said, I'm okay with Graydon coming back and then having like this conflict between like Alora and Graydon, because I mean Graydon's already shown that he's got magic potential. So yeah, I
so
don't know.
this
I
is the
mean,
thing. This is the thing. Just so you know, just going regarding Graydon, he wakes up surrounded by bodies, and he's basically in the sort of place where we saw Willow's future vision.
mhm.
And he sees Alora standing tall with bad guy henchmen behind her, sorry, saying that she wants Graydon to stand by her side. So regarding Graydon, he, in my opinion, is not dead. Obviously,
Do we
he's
think
been
this
sent.
is time
He's
travel, or do we think that this
yeah.
is like?
I was about to say he's been sent into the future. Um, and this is a position now where Alora is corrupted.
Well, I'd say either
Uh,
that, or do you think that the Wyrm is trying to corrupt Graydon now? Like, because remember when he got knocked out, like when yeah, he was like disintegrated per se, but at the same time, it went towards like the area the Wyrm was. So is the Wyrm basically trying to like tempt Graydon into joining? Because
no, I look at it differently. I look at somebody who has been corrupted, and I'm sure that will get fleshed out regarding his previous corruptions. But I think it would. I think the whole point is that he's become a better man and a changed man, and in a way he's learned. It's a bit like a Hawkeye in Age of Ultron. He wasn't going to get brainwashed twice.
Mhm.
Like he learned from the previous encounter, and he wasn't gonna get affected again. Now, granted, this happened to Graydon twice. We saw it as what it was like as a kid, and then obviously in one of the middle episodes, he got brainwashed by Kit and Eric's grandma.
Well, he was
But
more infected with that one, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
so I just think that I think this time around it will be him who'll be the savior, because for him to get affected again, I feel is bad writing.
and
I think
is with this show is possible. I mean, look, I said I like this episode. We can get into talking about the series in a little bit.
I still feel like the portal and lava from the last episode will be important. They're showing that there is more than one way into the evil lands. I mean, I don't honestly like the thing is I don't even know what the fuck's going on. Like I really don't. Like I felt like this crone, was this supposed to be the evil grandma or a variant of her or a lackey of hers or something totally different? Like I don't know what the fuck is going on, and that's once
Well,
again
they
down to
called her
the
the
editing.
crone,
And
so it's got to be the grandma. I mean, they called the crone the grandma, right? Or the grandma
I
was the
can't
crone, right?
I can't fucking remember. You know, what I mean, like, how did she come back and all that? It's just, oh god, they out Emperor Palpatine her. Somehow she's back. You know what I mean? It's like, oh god,
Well, but
it's
keep in mind she didn't
painful.
necessarily die in Willow. She kind of just went away, right? Like
No,
she didn't.
she ended up fucking herself over by sipping some liquid and evaporating. I don't know, but it
But that's
might
what
as
I'm
well
saying. Like she
she
didn't
might as well have
die.
been
She
dead.
just. It's not like she died and there was a body. Like she kind of disappeared, right?
I don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah, it all feels like a cross between evil clone Luke Skywalker storyline and Dungeons and Dragon Pool's pool of Radiance or a Radiant story. Okay, um, yeah, it's a culmination of a variety of things for sure. It's a mishmash, smash up, you know, all of these things, and yeah, I was bamboozled by it. You know, I was totally bamboozled by it. The fact that this show is also called Willow, and I don't even feel like it's about Willow. You know, at least the first movie was mainly about him. This was about obviously this is about the contingent, but to a degree, maybe you should call it Willow and Friends, or or the Willow ship, as we mentioned earlier.
The Willow
You
ship,
know, yeah, you know,
the
or
Willow
something
ship
along
of
those
the
lines.
Allura.
You know, because like this episode had hardly any fucking Willow in it. You know, this is the final episode. Willow decides to fuck off for the first quarter and a half, you know, before he comes back and does He Shall Not Pass. And even then, he's not in some of the action scenes. It's about everybody else. It's just, oh, it's just very, no, I'm very disappointed with this series. I'm very disappointed with this episode. Um, Everything about this show is shit. And they have a lot to do to make it better if they are allowed to make a second season. You know, if they're allowed to. But if they do make a second season, they're gonna have to make a third. You know, they can't go half-assed. You might as well do the whole bloody thing. So anyway, I feel so bad for Warwick every time I see him having to do any of the action scenes. The way they sped it up to make him look like to make him not look like he's in pain moving about. I guess. I mean, I want to feel bad for Warwick, but he can't act to save his life. There are moments where he's passable, but God, he's so fucking wooden. You know, he should let his staff play him, and he play his fucking staff because you know they seem to be the staff seems to have more character than than Warwick Davis does. Um, yeah, it's just absolute shit. It's so bad. You know, you know, like I'm very upset. I'm just upset that you know, like a lot of people are going to complain about this show for the wrong reasons. They're going to look at things. He's a triple A B list actor. Yeah, I mean, you know if you look at the fandom menace people, they're going to look at things. They're going to blame things which are nothing to do for blaming. They're going to blame diversity. They're going to blame a lot of female characters. That's got nothing to do with why this is shit. It's shit because it's badly written. It's at times it's poorly acted. The sets look terrible. The story's crap. You know, you could have replaced the entire cast with white guys. You know, wall to wall white guys. You know, with maybe one buxom babe everyone can oogle at. You know, just to keep the men happy. It would and if it still followed the same sort of lineage as this series, it would still be shit. You know, so I'm just very disappointed. I mean, I was looking forward to this show. I like my fantasy after Lord of the Rings and after Game of Thrones, House of Dragon. I was looking forward to what Disney had to offer, and this is what we get. I'm very disappointed. So this is not even milk toast. This is like this is water toast. You know what I
I
mean?
resemble that remark.
Yeah, but milk toast has got some flavor to it. This is bland as fuck. Oh god, I'm heartbroken, Gio. I'm heartbroken. Anyway, you got anything to add? Please add something.
Oh, I will. I was just waiting for you to get through your little tangent there. Or not tangent. Yeah, tangent. Um, okay. I don't think this is as bad as you make it out to be. I don't think it's absolute shit. I think that you're right that there are definitely some pitfalls to this. I think it is exceptionally middle of the road. Like it is literally like it is definitely have some low lows, but it actually has some high highs. I believe that this last episode was actually really good. I believe the last episode, the episode 7 was actually pretty good. I think there's probably 4 episodes in here that are decently really good. Episode for me it was like I think it was episode 1, 4, 7, and 8. I think I'd have to go back and double check. It's either 3 or 4. I don't remember, but so like you've got half of a good, like half of the episodes are really good, in my opinion. The rest can take or leave. Um, yeah, I don't hate it. Like I liked a lot of the plot points that they kind of brought to resolve. I didn't care that the crone was, like where's the crone? Like who cares? Like really,
Who's the
like
crone? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
it's the crone. Like I do like the way, as I said, I would have done this last episode differently, but but not in a way of like, oh, I hated this episode, it was so stupid. Like I was just like, I would have probably killed Eric, and I would have made them think that Graydon was dead. But yeah, I just yeah, I don't know. I I don't know. I didn't hate it. Like I didn't hate it, and I get it. Like this has probably got a nostalgia thing for you, Sam. That's probably why you're so passionately hating it. And I'm
I mean,
like, I didn't hate it. I in middle of the road for me. I think you have the nostalgia where you're like, it's gotta be good. But let's remember the original
it's got
Willow.
to be good, man. It's got to be good. And the original Willow, in my opinion, is not that good anymore. Watching it again, it feels dated. But this was just really bad. Like some of the lingo, and I mentioned the editing, and I explained myself quite well. I feel during the course, and not just with this episode, previous episodes as well.
I think you
You
had
know,
one point with the editing. Yes, you're right about the minions that Borman was supposed to be. Maybe that was just on the cutting room floor, and you're right. That's an editing problem. But I mean,
those guys have got significant looks about them, and they're quite menacing. And we didn't even see them getting killed off. Like why? Like
I
it's
agree. I as I said, I'm not defending
in
that at all.
in the episode where Graydon gets possessed. We see at one point a little man holding down Willow, but the moment Graydon is no longer possessed, the little man who's holding Willow is no longer there anymore. Like, what happened to him? Like, I mean, there's a couple of things that's coming into my mind right now, but I, I'm, I'm just, as I said earlier, like, how it would be nice to know how Willow was in the in the spell, which was in the hallucination, that Kit and Alora was in. I want to know how he was there. Like these sort of things need to be answered. You know, um,
I don't think he was in the hallucination. I just think he walked in, and because I mean when everything shattered away, it was like maybe it's what Kit was seeing, what Kit and Alora was seeing, um but not what Willow was seeing. Willow just walked in and he knew, and so he did the "You shall not pass" and just broke everything away, even though Willow couldn't see it. But I don't know. I'm not fussed incredibly. I mean I'm not that incredibly fussed about that. Like, as I said, I don't feel like he walked into the fantasy. I feel like he walked into the room and Alora could see him, but he could not see the fantasy. He just knew that she was being like, you know, enchanted.
it's it's not shite. We just know it's target audience. Even though we have nostalgia for the property, it's derived from. Mate, there is stuff that I'm not the target audience for, and I fucking love it. You know, because I appreciate it for what it is. There's so many things that I've watched in this world that I think to myself, that was really good. Have you seen the movie The Lighthouse with
Me? No.
with William Defoe and Robert Pattinson?
Nope.
It's an arty film in black and white about a couple of guys who are isolated from the rest of the world, living in the lighthouse. I don't want to go any more details than that. If you ever want to watch it, it's fucking brilliant. The movie Parasite, the Korean movie about a bunch of people, a family basically, all pretend not to be a family, who move into another family's home as workers, It's just so good. I'm not the target audience for that sort of film, but it's so fucking good. There's lots of films out there. I mean, those are two that off my top of my head. Oh, Whiplash, Whiplash with what's his face in it, the guy
But
who
you're also
plays.
talking about movies. You're not. Is Whiplash a show or a movie?
It's a movie, but I'm talking about stuff where I'm not the target audience for, which I ended up watching, and I ended up
I think
thoroughly
you're a bit more
enjoying.
forgiving though because you spent less time. Like Willow, you've spent weeks watching this, and you're like, and now it's like, with a movie, it's like,
Well,
okay, you're out 2 hours. With this, you're out like
well,
eight,
this is where I disagree. No, but this is where I
7 hours.
disagree with Daniel Vance. This is this is a fantasy show. Fantasy is what I'm into. I love fantasy, but this was shit. This was really shit. Regardless, you know, this series will keep a ton of kids occupied, and I can't occupy snow days and save any parents' sanity. I don't know. I think we're doing a disservice to children. Like about the stuff we watched as kids. That stuff was dark as fuck. You know what I mean? And I go back to once again, stuff like the Goonies, Last Starfighter,
Oh yeah, Last
stuff like,
Starfighter was great.
I mean, Battle Beyond the Stars, the Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, that's some dark, macabre shit right there. Yeah, and we watched that as kids. That was what we had to watch as kids. Erie, Indiana. Do you remember that shit? Oh my god, what a show
Nope.
that was! Oh, that was so good. All of these sort of things, so yeah, I think nowadays they're giving bubblegum bollocks to children. They're not testing them the way we were tested when we were younger. So, all right, I guess you want to mark this. I have not seen the series, by the way. That one's gone under the radar for me. But you have to remember, the series is made today. Dark Crystal, the movie, was made yesterday. I'm going to give this episode a 3 out of 10. What about you?
8. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Chalk and cheese for sure, dude. Yeah, well, we've given our reasons why, so
I mean,
fair
as I
enough.
said, I don't. I have no idea why you're being so hard on this last episode. It was actually a decent episode, and I get your like. I know you explained yourself really well. I just really feel like you're going hard on it for some reason. So I don't know.
No, well, it's not for no reason. I feel like
I
I
didn't
said,
say it was for no reason. I think you're going hard on it for just.
yeah, you said for some reason, but at least it wasn't for no reason.
Yeah, I
I
didn't say no
yeah,
reason.
and I'm very passionate regarding that. And it worries me, like when Disney are bubblegumming and watered down, these properties. It concerns me. Like, is everything going to be like harbored in designed for kids? I grew up in an era where it was so much R-rated stuff,
Here's the thing. I
so
don't feel
much.
like this show was. I don't feel like this show was like that geared towards kids. I really don't. I feel like that it. I, and see, I agree here with Daniel Vance. I give this season a 5 overall. See, that's what I do. I said it's exceptionally middle of the road. Like I'm not saying like the whole series was good. I
Oh,
like
sorry,
the season.
I apologize. I gave the episode a 3 and not the season. The season, I'm going to give the season a 5, and that's for the season. This episode gets a 3 from me. The season gets a 5. It's what I expected. I agree with you that it's what I expected it to be, and it did keep me engaged enough to watch it all. Room for improvement moving forward. It kept me engaged because, to a degree, like we're reviewing this show for our channel, and that was one of the reasons why we were engaged. Like people like Ginger Greek, who's part of our group, he stopped watching this shit. I think after 3 or 4 episodes, he gave up. So
Well, that's because he's either MM or Hing,
yeah,
masticating,
MMH.
masticating, masturbating, or hibernating. So
Yeah, well, you're gonna keep missing him, unfortunately. Jim upset because we're not doing live recordings. I'm only human, dude. There's only so much live I can do. Yeah, so no more hints. But yeah, and honestly, after the last episode of Quantum Leap, I'm glad we didn't go fucking live. What a bollocks episode that was. Had some nice emotional moments, but overall it was quite bollocks. So yeah, I've been a bit disappointed. And by the way, the next episode of Quantum Leap, Cousin Cheeto, is going to have Robert Picardo in it.
You told me that yesterday.
Yeah, can't wait for that. Robert Picardo, next episode of Quantum Leap is going to be so cool. So anyway, we're done with Willow. Thank God the season's over. What's next? I think it's going to be Secret Wars. Must be
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
I mean,
Easy mistake to make.
between Star Wars and Marvel, yeah, it's probably it's gonna be it's probably I think Secret Invasion. They haven't put a release date on it yet, though, that I know of. I mean, I have not heard an official release date. Just first quarter 2023.
Well, 2022 was definitely was a Star Wars year for sure. You
Yeah,
know, there's a lot of Star Wars shows. Book of Boba Fett. You had Andor. You had Obi-Wan. You had Visions. There was quite a lot of Star Wars for that particular month, as well as
actually,
Tales of
now it
Jedi.
says spring of 2023, so it's actually got bumped
That could
back a little bit.
that could be March.
Could be March, could be, well, maybe. So,
But you know,
um,
Disney Plus can't afford to really have too much of a lull. It's all good that they've got a bit of Bad Batch and they've got a bit of
there's
also
also
that was yeah.
there's no date, but they say that What If could be season 2 could be coming out in early 2023. So, I mean, there's a possibility there of those two. Last of Us on January 20 or January 15th, which I mean that's the end of this week, isn't it?
Yeah, Last of Us ain't Disney Plus though.
That's what,
Um,
HBO.
HBO MaxiPad, yeah,
Well, maybe Boss Man can do it. I mean, Boss Man did see, the problem is I haven't played Last of Us, and yeah, I mean, I can't really. I'm not
I
much
don't
into that
care.
one.
I don't care too much. I haven't played it either.
Maybe
Just
Boss Man and Ginger can do it. Boss
yeah,
Man and DH, since it's based on a video game. I mean, you know
and
what I mean.
hell will freeze over. So yeah. Anyway, what's Jim saying? Hey, Night Court coming back to NBC. I don't know what the hell Night Court is. For fuck's sake, I'm British.
Night Court was an old show back in the 90s, early 90s, maybe late 80s. I think a lot of Star Trek people were on it back in the day. Star Trek Next Generation. I think a lot of those people were on it. I think before
What
they were
looking
on
for?
Next Gen, so it's
What
probably
looking
an
for
80s
work?
show, huh?
Looking for work.
No, Night Court. It's like a court, like courthouse. You know,
Oh,
like,
like Judge Judy.
yeah, like, well, yeah, but it wasn't an. It was like it was a show. It wasn't like an actual like reality thing or whatever.
Oh, okay, I get ya. I get ya. All right, fair enough. Brent Spiner got his start on Night Court. Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, they all do.
I
Yeah,
was
they
about
all
to
got to
say,
start
I
somewhere.
think Michael Dorn was on there. I think Jonathan Frakes was on there too at one point. I remember them having a lot of TNG people. And I think, was Chekhov, Walter
Walter
Koenig on there?
Koenig. Yeah,
I
well,
think Walter. I'd have to look, but there was a lot of like Star Trek people that were on there, especially
fair,
TNG.
fair enough, fair enough. So we're going to be back tomorrow talking about, in my opinion, a slightly better show.
What?
Not definitely,
Oh my
not
god! No, I haven't seen this episode yet, but oh
a slightly better show, in my opinion. And
no.
I say the increments is not that much. Don't get me wrong, but it's still better because
No.
it is actually to a degree a kiddified show because it's got young people front and center. Now these young
There's young
people
people
are
front and center in Willow. I mean, Kit and Jade are supposed to be young. Eric's supposed to be young. Graydon's supposed to be young.
yeah,
Borman and Willow were the
you
two old
got a point.
fogies.
Yeah, you got a good point, but yeah, they are, but they are with old fogies as you mentioned, but our protagonists are pretty much youngsters, um, all youngsters to a degree. But anyway, yeah, Brent was 3 times. Night Court, old Trek versus new Trek. Okay, fair enough. You guys going on about this fucking Night Court now? You got me all curious about it. You fucking cunts.
I
Yeah, I
don't even think it
mean,
was that good of a show, but yeah, a lot of Trekkie, a lot of Next Generation people got their start there. I think, as I said, I'm sure that there was more than just Brent Spiner on there, but he was on there.
fair enough. Well, I'm watching Yellowstone. Daniel Vance, watch Yellowstone. Oh my god, that's just a great show. That's such a great show. I enjoyed it, and yeah, can't wait for that. Really gutted that Tulsa King's over. Only 9 episodes for season one.
It's so
Hopefully,
weird because like everywhere I looked, it said 10. Like I looked that up and I'm like, I believe you,
well,
as I said, but I'm just like, it said on TV time, it said that there were 10. I'm like, what?
what happened with season one of Yellowstone is there was only 9 episodes, and every season after that was 10 episodes. So I'm hoping with two of Tulsa King it will be 10 episodes from now onwards, because the first one was not. If they follow the same sort of formula, give the first season 1 episode, sorry, 9 episodes, and give the second season onwards 10. See how that pans out as well.
I don't know if you
So
can see that, but like it does. Season 1, episode 10. Like
yeah, I
this
saw it.
coming Sunday. So that's what I'm saying though. It's like, like I'm like it's so weird because usually TV time is usually pretty accurate on stuff. So I don't know.
Yellowstone has two prequel series. It has 1883 and 1923. I think in 1923 we see James Dutton's great grandfather or grandfather running the run, but in 1923 like 100 years ago, so maybe great grandfather. Um, but James Dutton himself is like 63 years old in current day. So, but there was a flashback to 1893 in Yellowstone at one point. So yeah, it's got two sequels to it, which is why I'm very much invested now because the show is just fantastic to watch. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's the modern day version of Dallas without a doubt, but it's set in Montana. Um, the characters are very interesting, and with these prequel spin-off shows as well. And 1923 has got Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren in it. So that's going to be pretty cool to watch.
Wow,
So
Harrison Ford, really?
Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. You
I'm
know what I
sorry.
mean?
I'm not a huge Harrison Ford fan. I mean, I'm surprised when he does anything. Like honestly, Harrison Ford has played a lot of characters that I like, but like as an actor, I don't care for him that much. Like like Bruce Willis. Like yeah, I love him in Die Hard, but it's like he's done so many shit things that it's just like it
Harrison
just
Ford, I mean, yeah, he's played some iconic roles. I mean, outside of Indiana Jones and Han Solo, he's played
played the president.
he played Dr. Richard Kimball from The Fugitive, which was
Mhm.
a character from a television series. He's played Jack Ryan, who's famous military person in the Tom Clancy books. He was supposed to actually be in Hunt for Red October, but he didn't want to star alongside Sean Connery again after doing Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and so he opted out for that. And then Alec Baldwin ended up playing Jack Ryan, but then he played Jack Ryan in Clear and Present Danger,
Mhm.
and the other movie which name escapes me. There's a movie called Mosquito Coast. Have you seen that?
Mhm.
He's so against type in that movie. He plays like an eccentric sort of environmentalist professor. And there's also Regarding Henry,
Almost like
where
an
he
eccentric, adventurous archaeologist, huh?
no, very different, very different. Because honestly, the personality wise, he's very different. But and it's got River Phoenix as well in it. And then in Regarding Henry, he plays a guy who is a lawyer, a bit of a dirtbag lawyer, very very hard on his wife and his family. And one day when he's going to buy some cigarettes, he gets the place, the shop he's at gets robbed, and he gets shot in the head, and he becomes a bit a bit mentally handicapped, and he becomes like a different person because of that. And all of that, and he's like rediscovering himself. Regarding Henry, one of it, his acting in that film was fantastic. You know, it really was. It was really, really good. So yeah, I like seeing actors going against type. You know, Harrison Ford's always playing the reluctant hero, and there's Jack Ryan, Indiana Jones, and Harrison Ford. Those three guys are reluctant heroes without a doubt. You know, so to see him play somebody else, you know, is always nice. You know, like Richard Kimball, a reluctant hero. You know, they're always reluctant heroes. So to see him playing like a dirtbag lawyer who becomes handicapped, I like that. To see
That's
him
why I want
playing,
to see the new
yeah,
movie with Tom Hanks, A Man Named Otto or whatever. Like it just looks so not Tom Hanks, but it looks like it's so good.
Man Named Otto.
Yeah, it's like I think it's A Man Named Otto or something like that.
I'll keep an eye out for that.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Tom Hanks normally, you love him. He's nice. He's warm. He's everything. And this, he plays some crotchety old man.
Yeah, I've heard about that. But then again, Tom Hanks. The funny thing is, when I was watching Tom Hanks, he was a comedic actor. You know, he did comedy films. Like there's a movie which I watched as a kid. It's one of my favorite films. It's so good. It's called Bachelor Party. Oh my god, Daniel Vance, please tell me you've seen that movie. That is a fucking hilarious film. Love it, love it, love it. And then he did stuff like Big and Dragnet and Turner and Hooch. He did so many comedies, and then boom, all of a sudden he comes out with Philadelphia, and his career just does a 180, totally changes. Then he's doing stuff like Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, Road to Perdition, where he plays a gangster. You know what I
Gangster.
mean?
Yep.
Yeah, and all of that sort of stuff with Jude Law
Dude,
in that
I
as
love
well.
Apollo 13. I love
Daniel
Road to
Craig's in that.
Perdition. Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Craig and Jude Law are in that movie as well. You know, so and God, Paul Newman as well. You know, that's a massive cast. So yeah, he totally changed his career. Uh, once he changed his acting career, I love that. You know, he stopped being a comedic actor and became a serious actor.
Well, it goes along
But
with what you've said is that comedians are make some of the best actors.
without a doubt, and especially stand-up comedians. And then it's funny because then one day he was hosting Saturday Night Live, Tom Hanks, and he was just a natural because he knows how to do comedy. You know, like he did this thing called Black Jeopardy, and like it's Jeopardy like with like for black people, and he's the only redneck white guy on that show. And oh god, the humor is absolutely hilarious. It's so funny. You should see that. Type in YouTube, Tom Hanks, Black Jeopardy. Oh, the Money Pit. The Money Pit was so good. Money Pit is so good. Him and is it Shelley Duvall? Yeah, and the house is falling apart. Oh, that is so fucking good. It's brilliant. Yeah, I love that film. Yeah. So I don't think Tom Hanks has done horror. That's the only thing he hasn't really done is horror. If he has, then let me know. But I don't
Toy
think he's
Story.
done that. Yeah, I
That's
guess.
horror.
So yeah. All right, we've tangented so fucking much, you know, but it's been a good tangent nevertheless, and that's why people love us. So tomorrow catch us for National Treasure, and then I'll try and also at some point this week squeeze in a recording of the latest episode of the Bad Batch. And by the way, Bad Batch season 2 started off with a bang. I can't wait to watch the episode 3. First 2 episodes of season 2 are already out. Episode 3 is already out as well, but I haven't seen that. But I will get a review for you guys soon as possible.
Also,
Until
don't
then,
forget we have a fan film. It's already up on the page. Gonna premiere on Friday at 6:30. So our normal review time, but it is a pre-recorded fan film, but it's a premiere. So me and Zam and whoever else are gonna try to be in the chat at least to engage with people. But we're trying the whole premiere thing again. It didn't go so well the first time around, but it seems like but if we keep it consistent and consistent time, people will know when to show up and stuff like that. So, and we'll give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. If not, whatevs.
exactamundo. All right, then, fellas, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in YouTube land. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. We'll see you tomorrow for some National Treasure. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.